friends, it's Sharon Luska here from My Crafty Greetings, and we are doing a video today from Scrappy Tails Crafts, and I've got the assorted die sleeves out again. But we're going to do a scene card, and this scene card you're only going to need your Scrappy Tails dies and some scissors if you want to cut some grass. If you have the Easter set, you'll have already grass and flowers in your set. I hand cut myself some grass for this purpose. So I'm just throwing down a little bit of a sky background here. It can be modeled. It doesn't need to have all kinds of blending smoothness to it. I'm going to say ink up your brush and just dop it on there, and it's going to be one of those beautiful modeled skies that you would see on a beautiful spring day, which I am so yearning for. Can we be done with winter yet, please? I'm over it. So I also decided that today we were going to do a pet bereavement card, and it's probably one of the toughest things I think that a person has to go through, because you don't get as much support as you would with a family member, or maybe because you're just that much closer to them because they behave totally different than your family members do. I'm not sure what it is, but it's been on my mind lately to want to do some of these cards, and I'll share with you specifically the circumstance that happened. With everything that's going on with COVID right now, I have some very severe food allergies. Just back to the card quick. And we're just gonna use our tools to put some leaf veins in these and make all of this stuff look a little more leafy. We're gonna fluff it up and puff it up and just use our tools to put some little cuts in here. Well, not cuts, a little indents. There we go. So anyways, I have food allergies, and my food allergies are severe enough to eggs, fish, and pork that my little puppers cannot eat food that has any of those ingredients in it, because if they were to lick me, I would end up having to take a trip to the hospital. I'm severely enough allergic to these things that I can't even drink wine, and I think they use 2 eggs in a batch of wine to clarify it, and then they pull all that stuff out, and the fact that there's been egg in the wine is enough to stop me from drinking it. So we ended up not being able to get their regular dog food, and that was a hardship. And my little puppy dogs have always eaten a very special kind of food that's been lightly cooked, and they love it. They've been super healthy, and it was something that was safe for me with my allergies too. And when we went to go to the store recently in the lockdown that's going on here in Canada, they ended up not having this food anywhere. And so we suddenly had to change over, and I decided that we would try the food closest to theirs, which would be a raw diet. And there is a big difference between lightly cooked and raw diet, let me tell you. My dogs had diarrhea for 3 days solid. I got no sleep. There was accidents everywhere, and they kept assuring me, it'll be fine, it'll pass. It didn't. And it's hard when you're tired and you're worried about your fur babies. Those are grass that I just cut by hand. If you've got a grass die that's got some long grassy pieces to it, use that. You can see I'm just trying to fluff them up a little bit here and make them look more realistic. And then this is cracked pistachio in a little homemade cube because it's distress oxide, and I'm putting that on the darker color just so that it has like a waxy look to the leaves. Anyways, back to my story. So with these guys being so sick and such a limitation of foods available, and probably the lack of sleep, I started feeling like I was killing my dogs. And definitely I was suffering pretty badly because of the lack of sleep. And it really got me down. I don't know, I haven't been having a horrible time with the whole COVID lockdown thing. I kind of take everything with a grain of salt. I'm a little happy-go-lucky that way. But this most recent event and most recent lockdown has really been really horrible. So, and I feel like such a whiner because I know all around the world there's circumstances that are far more tragic and heartbreaking than mine, and I'm having a tiny bit of a pity party for myself. But it is, I guess it is, we all have moments, right? We're all going to have moments where things get to us, and we need to try and not focus on them, and we need to try and be grateful for the lives that we do have, because we all are so fortunate. But yeah, it made me think about it. And I thought, I couldn't imagine the loneliness of being locked down and not having my little guys, and especially too if I didn't have my husband and it was just me and my little guys. That would be just, yeah. So anyways, not worth thinking. This is my little plunger trick. I stick my needles into the little silicone tip on the end of the bottles so that they're not flying around the craft room, because again, I don't need little doggies with pins stuck in them and because they're always under my feet, unless Ziggy's whining to get up because he wants to see or be on the video, right? So and it typically doesn't cause me any problems when it's hanging there. It just stays out of the way. It does flick around on the screen a bit, but it's not too big a deal. So anyways, that's the end of my tragic tale of woe. Thank you for listening to it. And hopefully you're all doing well too. I know everyone's suffering the ramifications of this, and I really do hope that there is an end in sight soon, and soon-ish, or at least some sort of reprieve from the intensity that it's been at, because this has been tough. Like, it's just crazy tough, and I don't know. That's it. So I think this bright, cheerful card, if you wanted to, you could make it for a thinking of you card too. You could just, when we get to the last part of the card, maybe put a heart instead of a paw print. It would be good for just about anything. So basically here we're just arranging this scene, and it's good to eyeball your things in place and see what they might look like ahead of time. Those leaf trios, I was really impressed with them when I had gotten them in the die set, because I thought you really could make almost an entire tree out of those little leaf trios, because they hang so perfectly when you bend them together to make it actually look like leaves hanging off a branch. And I do think I'm going to have to get that Easter die set from Sabrina at Scrappy Tails Crafts, because if you see the grass that die cut cuts, it's amazing. Like, it would put my poor little hand cut grasses here to shame. So anyways, but the whole point is that I'm trying to make kind of like a meadowland scene here, and I'm just gluing these little grasses and all these little leaves together. The two longer fronds, they're actually reminded me of Solomon's seal that I have in my garden. And then I thought, some grassy stuff and something that looks like gladiolas popping out, or what's the other one? Hollyhocks, maybe hollyhocks. These are hollyhocks popping out of the back here. And I'm just going to stick them on, and then we'll arrange the other leaves back there. And I have a giant acanthus plant in my garden. I think it's a relative of the thistles, but it gets these massive, cool kind of leaves on them that really reminded me of these. I call them oaky-like leaves here, but so and this is all done just out of my scrap green paper that I've had laying around my craft room. And then the white pieces are Nina Solar White 80 pound. So the one thing that I noticed about the acanthus that we have in our garden is the center leaf that always comes out is always slightly lighter green than the rest of the leaves. If they age, they darken up, and they have this beautiful jagged kind of curly look to them, which reminded me of this. Can you guess I'm more of a summer girl than a winter girl? Oh well. It's like I'm planting my own gardens with paper in my craft room. Won't you come plant some paper gardens with me? Now I'm grabbing up the last little bits here that I've got kicking around. I figured that I'll toss them in as though they're new little shoots or something like that. And then I have this beautiful vellum here. It is frosted or pearly, and it has some embossing in it. And so I cut a leaf set from that. And I did rip one off because that was a little too rough. But I'm just going to grab a couple of the pairs, one larger pair and one smaller pair. And I'm going to take them and I'm going to glue them up here. And I'm going to spin the other pair around so that it goes the opposite direction. Does this look like something? Is everybody seeing where this is going? And yes, this is from Assorted Leaves die set using just the leaves. So I'm going to do another leaf pair compilation here. I'm using my little pokey tool just to give a little squish so that the glue actually does hold this on. Now, because I didn't rip these off very well, I'm going to just stick them back together as though they were still in a leaf pair. You can just pick the leaves off and make four joined together like this yourself if you like. That would work also. And you just need to make sure that they get stuck with that little end bit into the glue very well. So rather than ripping them, I've decided I'll use scissors, and that keeps the integrity of the leaf pairs. Now the last little, I had a couple of these little loose leaves floating around my desk, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to cover that stem there, make the corner look a little bit tidier. So I'm just tossing those on there to make sure that that's covered up. Looks like a branch hanging down in front of our scene, doesn't it? So I went in my stash of saved garbage to get this Therese folder, because I do really like the glossy black cardstock that they used to have. This is an old embossing folder package. So I just cut off the outside edge because it was banged up from being in the store. But the inside edge that I just cut, look how spanky nice and new that looks. Like, you know that I love you when you get a card from me that has a little bit of garbage in it. So anyways, nobody will be any the wiser, and you're not going to tell them either. Ha ha ha. I dry fit this together and noticed that there was a little space there that I wanted to put another little guy in. So I'm just going to double check it here and make sure that that's what I want. And I've got my Nouveau drops out in silver here. I'm going to grab my Princess Auto card tool to squish that down, and then I'm going to add on the little bodies here. And now that you can see what I'm doing, you can see that I'm making a bunch of dragonflies. So I do like a fairly round dollop up at the top, and then I just kind of drag it out so that it has a little skinny body, and then a dollop, and I do that flicking motion at the end to make the bottom rounded. I took the jewel off the top of my thing so it could stand up. I know other crafters have done that too, but when I got it, I looked at it and thought, what the heck is that there for? And took it off immediately. So I punched a paw print through some Nina Solar white and then did a circle punch around it. I've also cut out 2 more circles of gold, and I've got my VersaFine out here and my sentiment. We're just going to get that stamped on. So Sorry for Your Loss is such a great stamp. I love this stamp. It's perfect for so many different occasions, and especially for this type of occasion or this type of card. It's not an occasion yet. I hope I don't have to use this card. But anyways, I've got that heat embossed, and I'm just going to add some ATG on the back here, and we're going to get that salvage strip of black paper, because it is paper. We're going to get the salvage strip of black paper on here so that it shows out the side of our white piece, and then we'll snip the extra off. And I'm going to add some more ATG so that we can put some of our packing foam and pop it up just a little bit, and that'll help frame the scene on the left hand side of the card. Now I went ahead and put some ATG on here thinking I'd stick it down, and I went, oh yeah, that's right, I'm supposed to be putting some gold thread on the front of this. And while I was doing it, I got the packing foam folded over. You can just unfold it and stick it back down. Nobody will know the difference. I almost stuck that to my desk. So I've got some art glitter glue and the little paw print, and I'm going to stick this gold disc, it's the same size, but if you stick one off to the side, it gives it a gold rim. I'm trying not to slide it around too much because I don't want the art glitter glue to show through there. I'm tacking a little ATG to the other gold circle. We're going to be adding a couple of tassels with gold thread. It's DMC gold embroidery thread. It's 2-ply, and you're going to take the end and just fold it back, and then take those 2-ply and tie it in a knot the same way you would do if you were doing a 2-ply threaded needle. Now I'm pulling out some length so I can double this back, and then I'm going to add a folded end here and do the same thing by wrapping it around and knotting it again. So you're going to have 2 knots that have 2-ply hanging from the ends. Now trim off those extra little lead threads, you're not going to need them. Sandwich together your little paw print and the gold disc. That'll hold there. I'm just going to clean up the other end here. So now I've got 2 loops. I'm just going to snip them. And this is how I store my gold thread. I just have it in a ball in a bag, and then that way I don't have to chase it across the floor or have it unfurling and making a big mess all over the place. And I just fold that in half and put it in my drawer to store it. So I have this here. I'm going to slide this down. The ATG isn't kind of glued down enough to keep it from completely being able to be pulled through. So I just did that, and then I'm untwisting all those plies of thread, because of course it was already 2 threads to begin with, and then we folded it over and that made it 4 threads, and we're just making it tassely looking. And I'm gonna just tack this on the back here to get the sentiment piece attached to the card, and I wanted a little bit of a reveal, just probably about 1/8 of an inch down the side. And then we're going to get ourselves a little extra length here, pull it down. I hope you've enjoyed the video today. I had lots of fun making it. You could easily use this same card for a person and just do thinking of you, put a heart instead of the paw print over top of those gold discs. And hopefully you see the benefit of this die set. I have the information below in my drop down box. It would be lovely if you'd consider using my affiliate links, but definitely do check out all her great stamps and dies. She's got fantastic products. Don't forget to subscribe so you can find me again. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Thank you so much for joining me. I so appreciate your time, and hopefully things get better and brighter and sunnier for all of us as the days continue to roll on. Thanks. Bye. Darn it, I always forget. Here's some more videos you can watch.